So assuming the AI has internal states, experiences, qualia. Some people argue that they don't. Some say they already have it. That's a separate philosophical question. But if we can simulate this, I will.
Some people might misunderstand. You're not saying that you will. You're saying that someone will.
I can also do it. I don't mind.
Okay.
Of course, others will do it before I get there. If I'm getting it for $10, somebody got it for $1,000. That's not the point. If you have technology, we're definitely running a lot of simulations for research, for entertainment, games, all sorts of reasons. And the number of those greatly exceeds the number of real worlds we're in. Look at all the video games kids are playing. Every kid plays 10 different games. There's, a billion kids in the world. So there is 10 billion simulations in one real world.
Mm-hmm.
Even more so when we think about advanced AI, superintelligent systems. Their thinking is not like ours. They think in a lot more detail. They run experiments. So running a detailed simulation of some problem at the level of creating artificial humans and simulating the whole planet would be something they'll do routinely. So there is a good chance this is not me doing it for $10. It's a future simulation thinking about something in this world.
So it could be the case that a species of humans or a species of intelligence in some form got to this point where they could affordably run simulations that are indistinguishable from this, and they decided to do it, and this is it right now. And it would make sense that they would run simulations as experiments or for games or for entertainment. And also, when we think about time, in the world that I'm in this simulation that I could be in right now, time feels long, relatively. I have 24 hours in a day, but in their world, it could be...
Time is relative.
Relative, yeah. It could be a second. My whole life could be a millisecond in there.
Right. You can change speed of simulations you're running, for sure.
So your belief is that this is probably a simulation?
Most likely. And there is a lot of agreement on that. If you look again, returning to religions, every religion basically describes what? A super intelligent being, an engineer, a programmer, creating a fake world for testing purposes or for whatever. But if you took the simulation hypothesis paper, you go to jungle, you talk to primitive people, a local tribe, and in their language, you tell them about it. Go back 2 generations later. They have religion. That's basically what the story is.
Religion, describes a simulation theory, basically. Right. Somebody created...
So by default, that was the first theory we had. And now with science, more and more people are going like, I'm giving it non-trivial probability. A few people are as high as I am, but a lot of people give it some credence.
What percentage are you at in terms of believing that we are currently living in a simulation?
Very close to certainty.
And what does that mean for the nature of your life? If you're close to 100% certain that we are currently living in a simulation, does that change anything in your life?
So all the things you care about are still the same. Pain still hurts. Love still love, right? Like those things are not different, so it doesn't matter. They're still important. That's what matters. The little 1% different is that I care about what's outside the simulation. I want to learn about it. I write papers about it. So that's the only impact.
And what do you think is outside of the simulation?
I don't know. But we can look at this world and derive some properties of the simulators. So clearly, brilliant engineer, brilliant scientist, brilliant artist. Not so good with morals and ethics. Room for improvement.
In our view of what morals and ethics should be?
Well, we know there is suffering in the world. So unless you think it's ethical to torture children, then I'm questioning your approach.
But in terms of incentives, to create a positive incentive, you probably also need to create negative incentives. Suffering seems to be one of the negative incentives built into our design to stop me doing things I shouldn't do. So like put my hand in a fire, it's going to hurt. But
it's all about levels of suffering, right? So unpleasant stimuli, negative feedback doesn't have to be at like negative infinity hell levels. You don't want to burn alive and feel it. You want to be like, oh, this is uncomfortable. I'm going to stop.
It's interesting because we assume that they don't have great morals and ethics, but we too we take animals and cook them and eat them for dinner. And we also conduct experiments on mice and rats.
But to get university approval to conduct an experiment, you submit a proposal and there is a panel of ethicists who would say, you can't experiment on humans, you can't burn babies, you can't eat animals alive. All those things would be banned.
In most parts of the world.
Where they have ethical boards.
Yeah.
Some places don't bother with it, so they have easier approval process.
It's funny when you talk about the simulation theory, there's an element of the conversation that makes life feel less meaningful in a weird way. I know it doesn't matter, but whenever I have this conversation with people, not on the podcast, about are we living in a simulation, you almost see a little bit of meaning come out of their life for a second, and then they forget and then they carry on. But the thought that this is a simulation almost posits that it's not important, or that I think humans want to believe that this is the highest level and we're at the most important and it's all about us. We're quite egotistical by design. And it's an interesting observation I've always had when I have these conversations with people, that it seems to strip something out of their life.
Do you feel religious people feel that way? They know there is another world and the one that matters is not this one. Do you feel they don't value their lives the same? I guess in some religions.
I think they think that this world is being created for them and that they are going to go to this heaven or hell. And that still puts them at the very center of it. But if it's a simulation, we could just be some computer game that a 4-year-old alien is messing around with while he's got some time to burn.
But maybe there is, a test and there is a better simulation you go to and a worse one. Maybe there are different difficulty levels. Maybe you want to play it on a harder setting next time.
I've just invested millions into this and become a co-owner of the company. It's a company called Ketone IQ, and the story is quite interesting. I started talking about ketosis on this podcast and the fact that I'm very low carb, very, very low sugar, and my body produces ketones, which have made me incredibly focused, have improved my endurance, have improved my mood, and have made me more capable at doing what I do here. And because I was talking about it on the podcast, a couple of weeks later, these showed up on my desk in my HQ in London, these little shots. And oh my God, the impact this had on my ability to articulate myself, on my focus, on my workouts, on my mood, on stopping me crashing throughout the day was so profound that I reached out to the founders of the company, and now I'm a co-owner of this business. I highly, highly recommend you look into this. I highly recommend you look at the science behind the product. If you want to try it for yourself, visit ketone.com/Stephen for 30% off your subscription order, and you'll also get a free gift with your second shipment. That's ketone.com/Stephen. And I'm so honored that once again, a company I own can sponsor my podcast. I've built companies from scratch and backed many more. And there's a blind spot that I keep seeing in early stage founders. They spend very little time thinking about HR. And it's not because they're reckless or they don't care. It's because they're obsessed with building their companies. And I can't fault them for that. At that stage, you're thinking about the product, how to attract new customers, how to grow your team, really how to survive. And HR slips down the list because it doesn't feel urgent. But sooner or later, it is. And when things get messy, tools like our sponsor today, JustWorks, go from being a nice to have to being a necessity. Something goes sideways and you find yourself having conversations you did not see coming. This is when you learn that HR really is the infrastructure of your company, and without it, things wobble. And JustWorks stops you learning this the hard way. It takes care of the stuff that would otherwise drain your energy and your time, automating payroll, health insurance benefits, and it gives your team human support at any hour. It grows with your small business from startup through to growth, even when you start hiring team members abroad. So if you want HR support that's there through the exciting times and the challenging times, head to justworks.com now. That's justworks.com. And do you think much about longevity?
A lot, yeah. It's probably the second most important problem, because if AI doesn't get us, that will.
What do you mean?
You're going to die of old age.
Which is fine.
That's not good. You want to die?
I mean...
You don't have to. It's just a disease. We can cure it. Nothing stops you from living forever. As long as the universe exists. Unless we escape the simulation.
But we wouldn't want a world where everybody could live forever, right? That would be...
Sure we do. Why? Who do you want to die?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I say this because it's all I've ever known, that people die, but wouldn't the world become pretty overcrowded if...
No, you stop reproducing if you live forever. You have kids because you want a replacement for you. If you live forever. You're like, I'll have kids in 1,000,000 years. That's cool. I'll go explore the universe first. Plus, if you look at actual population dynamics outside of like one continent, we're all shrinking.